Welcome guys. Today we are going to start with a neat biology lecture. Okay, and the chapter's name is Principles of Inheritance and Variation. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, on the left side I have taken the screenshots of your MTG fingertips. Okay, so we are going to study from that. Whatever is important I will explain to you on the right side. Okay, and we'll see. Now before we start with this new chapter, I want all of you to make sure that you have understood the topic that I taught in the 12th standard lecture. So if you haven't seen the lecture, please go on YouTube, go on the channel of our class Science Bridge Academy, and please make sure that you view all the lectures. Okay, 95% of the chapter is same, some points are different. Okay, so we'll go in detail when we come to it. Okay, so let's start with the topic. uh, so now as you can see on the left side, uh, if you remember when we had started with the topic, okay, and we had come across three important words. They were heredity, I am highlighting them on the left side, variation, and genetics. Okay, so if everybody remembers what is the meaning of heredity, heredity is something that you get from your parents. Okay, the characters which are same in you as well as the parents, these are called as the inherited or the heredity characters, correct? And what is the meaning of variations? Variations are the differences. So in simple words I can write down over here that heredity is equal to characters inherited from parents. Okay, whereas variations are the differences between parents and offsprings. Is this clear? Okay, so those two words you know. And when you combine heredity and variation, what do you get? You get the field of biology called genetics. So we had learned about this. The same thing is given over here in the first paragraph, so you should be knowing all these three terms: what is heredity, what is variations, and what is genetics. All right, so now let us come to the next part, which is about the gene. So what is the gene? The gene was also called as factor by Mendel, if you remember. Okay, so Mendel called the gene as a factor because he didn't know the word gene. Okay, so factor is now also called as a gene. Both have the same meaning. So what is genes? Genes are basically the heredity materials. So when the genes are passed on from the parents and they are inherited by the offsprings, those genes will have characters and they will be displayed by the offsprings, correct? Now you know that one gene can have two or more forms, correct? And as you see over here, the words are given. The words are allele or allelomorph. So what is the meaning of the word allele? Allele are two or more different forms of the same gene. For example, if I say that the gene is T, then the gene T will have two forms, capital T and small t. These are the two alleles of gene T. Or if I say R gene has two forms, capital R and small r. So alleles are two or more, because you know we are going to study multiple alleles. So two or more forms of the same gene are called as alleles. For example, if we are studying blood groups, then you know that for blood groups there is IA, there is IB, and there is I. So there are three forms of the same gene. So these are all alleles. So I hope you understand what is the meaning of the word alleles. Okay, so alleles, allelomorphs, the meaning is same. Okay, so now what is given is what is a dominant allele, what is a recessive allele. I think you know. Best example is when you show a cross between a pure tall and a dwarf plant. The gametes are capital T over here, small t over here, and the offspring that you get is capital T, small t. Now this is supposed to be a tall offspring. This is supposed to be a dwarf offspring. And what do you get? The F1 generation shows all offsprings which are tall. So what does this show? You have both the genes, both the alleles present over here, capital T and small t. But is the small t showing its effect? No. So small t is the recessive allele. Capital T is showing its effect. So it is the dominant allele. So allele which shows the effect is called dominant, which doesn't show the effect is called recessive. Clear? Okay, got it. So that is about the dominant and recessive allele. So that is given over here. All right. Next is what is homozygous condition, what is heterozygous condition. Now again, the best examples of homozygous condition and heterozygous conditions are, now if you take this example, this is homozygous. A homozygous individual or a homozygous condition is condition in which both the alleles are the same. Again, this is also homozygous because both are small t. Whereas if you see over here, there is one capital T, one small t. So this condition is called as heterozygous. Okay, so very simple. Okay, heterozygous individuals are also called as hybrid, whereas homozygous individuals are also called as pure individuals. Okay, so that is given, so that is explained over here. Okay, now the next part which they have given is what is a monohybrid cross, what is a dihybrid cross. If you see over here, all these words which I am highlighting, they are obviously very important. We have all studied them, so we are just revising. Now what is a monohybrid cross? Now if I want to write a monohybrid, and if I write down say capital T small t, this is a hybrid individual. It is having only one character. The character is height. Okay, sorry, it is having only one trait. Okay, the trait is height, correct? So this is called as a monohybrid. An individual which is expressed only in terms of one trait, it is called as a monohybrid. Then what is a dihybrid? Suppose I write the individual capital D, capital D, capital R, small r. Now if you see, there are two traits over here. This is one trait which is height, this is the other trait which is the shape. Okay, so an individual which is representing showing two traits, it is called as a dihybrid. Now we'll go one step further and we'll show what is a trihybrid. A trihybrid is an individual which is represented using three characters. Suppose we write down capital T small t, capital R small r, capital Y small y. Now this individual is showing three characters, 1, 2 and 3, three traits. So this is showing height, this is showing shape, and this is showing color. So this is a trihybrid. Simple. Okay, but in your book you have only monohybrid and dihybrid. Okay, trihybrid is not there. So now if you see in monohybrid how many alleles are present, there is only one pair of alleles because two alleles are present. Two matlab one pair. In dihybrid how many pair of alleles are present? Two pairs are present. So this is one pair, this is second pair. Whereas in trihybrid how many pairs of alleles are present? One pair, second pair, third pair. Same thing is given. When only one allelic pair is considered in crossbreeding, it is monohybrid. When two pairs, it is dihybrid. Easy. Okay, so this part is very simple. Okay, now let us go ahead. Now they have given what is the meaning of reciprocal crosses. I had explained this to you. Okay, uh, you remember that Mendel, whenever he used to perform the crosses, he used to take one plant as the female and the other one as male. Okay, suppose if this is taken as the female plant and this plant is taken as the male plant, so what did he do in female plants? He did something which is called as emasculation, correct? Do you remember this term? Emasculation is removal of anther, removal of androgen. So automatically this will become female. Here he will do nothing. He will take pollen grains from this plant, transfer it to this plant. Now what is the meaning of reciprocal cross? So he will do this cross, then he will do another cross, capital T into small t, But now what he will do is he will take this as the female and he will do emasculation over here, whereas the capital D, the dominant homozygote, he will use as the male. So the parents are the same genotypically, but you switch the male and the female plant. That is called as reciprocal cross. The genotype is going to be the same, capital D into small t, capital D into small t, but you are taking this as the female over here, you are taking this as the female over here. Is this clear? Okay, so is this reciprocal cross is clear? Okay, now we come to the part which is called as the back cross. What is the back cross? Okay, now if you remember, back cross is the cross where you cross the hybrid with the parent. F1 hybrid is crossed with the parent. So suppose if I take this as the hybrid and I cross it with the parent, then the parents are pure, so you can cross it with capital T or capital T, small t. Correct? You remember this? This is called as the back cross. So crossing an F1 individual with any of the parent is called as a back cross. When you cross a F1 hybrid only with the recessive parent, so if I do this, if I cross capital T with small t, this is the recessive parent, correct? Then this cross is called as the test cross. So do you get me? If you are crossing the F1 hybrid with the recessive parent, then that cross can be called as a test cross as well as a back cross. Okay, because every test cross is going to be a back cross because you are going to cross with a parent. But if you are crossing with a recessive parent, then only it is called as a test cross. If you are crossing with a dominant parent, then it is called as a back cross. Okay, so if you want to show in the terms of Venn diagram, then this is your back cross, all right, and this is your test cross. So all test crosses are back crosses, but all back crosses are not test crosses. Clear? So you know this. So over here you can see the words back cross, this is the test cross. If you remember, now I'm not going to show you the crosses, but the monohybrid test cross ratio is 1:1. Okay, so please remember that 1:1, that is the monohybrid test cross ratio. Okay, so that is there. So that is some of the important parts about the words which were used. Now we come to the next part, which is called as Mendelism. Okay, so let us scroll downwards. Now they have given some information about Mendel, so I'm going to just go through this very rapidly because you know about it. So he used the plant which was called as Pisum sativum. Okay, now since this is printed, it is written in italics, correct? If you are writing it down, then you have to underline both the words separately. Please remember, Pisum sativum. Many people do this is wrong, so don't do that. Okay, please underline them separately. Make sure the first letter of the generic name is capital, the first letter of the specific name is small. Okay, now the next part is, you know, why did he choose pea plant? Okay, the life cycle is very short. The plants are small, they produce many seeds, easy to emasculate. All that is not given over here. They have given the chromosome number of pea plant, which is important. So the chromosome number, the diploid number is, so if you remember, 2n is equal to 14. Okay, and obviously the haploid number is 7. So the chromosome number of Pisum sativum is 14. Okay, so that is it. Now the next part is, how many traits did he study? So you know this. Okay, if you see over here, okay, let me see if I can zoom in a bit. And if you see this table, yes, Okay, these are the traits which were studied by Mendel. And if you see the 7 traits we have already studied: height, flower position, pod color, pod shape, flower color, seed shape, seed color. Let us just go through them. Capital T, small t: height, axillary, dominant, terminal, recessive. Okay, now pod color is normally given by the letter G. Okay, so here they have given G or Y, but normally we use this letter capital G, small g, that is green or yellow. Please remember that the letters that we use for the genes, they are basically the dominant character and the first letter of that. For example, if axillary position is the dominant thing, then A, capital A is used. Similarly, if green, then try to use G, don't use this. Okay, so G, small g. Then pod shape, inflated, dominant I, constricted, small. Flower color, okay, colored or white. So here they have used different letters. You can use different letters if you want. Seed shape, you know, round, wrinkle, yellow, green. So these were the 7 traits that he studied. So you should know all these traits. Please make sure that you know them, because questions are asked in NEET as well as in uh, your NEET 12th standard paper. Okay, so okay, so now we come to the laws. Which laws are present? Okay, so you know about the laws. 3 laws of Mendel. First law was called as law of dominance. Now what was the law of dominance? You know, you have to show the monohybrid cross. I'm not going to do it over here. Capital D crossed with small t, you get capital D small t. So law of dominance, what does it say? The law of dominance says that the gene which expresses itself in the F1 generation is the dominant gene, does not represent itself with the recessive gene. So since you get all the plants in F1 as capital D small t, they are showing that capital D is dominant, small t is recessive. So please don't show the F2 generation in law of dominance. Now coming to the ratios, the phenotypic ratio in law of dominance is sorry, you don't write the phenotypic genotypic ratio. Okay, you write it in F2 generation, so no ratios over here in first law. Coming to the second law, okay, the second law is your law of segregation. It is also called as law, excuse me, second law is also called as law of purity of gametes, correct, which is also called as law of segregation. Now what does this law say? Now if you remember, in law of segregation, basically we have to show the selfing of the F1 generation. So it is capital D small t crossed with capital D small t, and what you get is capital T capital T, capital D small t, capital D small t, small t small t. Now this is a dwarf individual, whereas if you see the parents, both the parents are tall. So why did you get this dwarf individual? That is because during gamete formation, capital T and small t separate, or they segregate. So gametes are always pure, they always separate, they are not dependent. Please remember that capital T and small t do not mix with each other. In the F1 hybrid, both are present together, they are not mixing with each other, they are just remaining together, because if these two would have mixed, then the height would have been medium. Okay, so please remember they remain together without mixing. So the law also says that in a hybrid, the gametes remain together without mixing, and during gamete formation they segregate or separate, and because of that you get this. Okay, now after you do this, you have to know the ratio. So the phenotypic ratio is 3 is to 1, 1 2 3 tall, 1 dwarf. And genotypic ratio is 1 is to 2 is to 1, 1 capital T, 2 capital T small t, and 1 small t small t. Now this entire cross is also called monohybrid cross. So monohybrid ratio, if it is asked, then it is the same as phenotypic ratio. Okay, please remember that. Next part is your law of independent assortment. Okay, now in law of independent assortment, first of all, please remember to do the cross correctly. So suppose if I'm taking these as the parents, then please make sure that you show the gametes properly. Okay, and then you show the F1 individual, capital T, small t, capital R, small r. So all are tall and round. Then when you go further, please make sure that you first of all know how to write the gametes of this individual. Okay, you take the first letter of this trait, then mix it with first letter of the next trait, then first second, then second first, second second, so you get four gametes. This is going to be self, so again four gametes. So you know what is going to happen next. We are going to basically, so I'll try to move this ahead, and the next part is going to be your checkerboard method. So your gametes are going to be capital T, capital R, capital T, small t, capital R, small t, small r. Similarly over here, same gametes, correct? And then you know you are going to write all those 16 individuals over here, and out of those 16 individuals, okay, you are going to get 9 which are tall and round. You are going to get 3 which are tall and wrinkled. Then you are going to get 3 which are dwarf and round, and you are going to get 1 which is dwarf and wrinkled, correct? So you can show that cross. I'm not going to do it over here, everybody knows this cross. This is the genotypic ratio. Phenotypic ratio, if you want, then it is slightly bigger, 1 is to 1 is to 1 is to 1 is to 2 is to 2 is to 2 is to 2 is to 4, correct? So that is about the law. Now what does the law of independent assortment state? Okay, we have done the entire cross. Now what does the law say? Now the law says that when you are taking an individual having more than one character, one trait, okay, you are not taking only the height or only the color, you are taking height and shape, so you are taking two traits. So in a cross between two organisms, pure for any two pairs of contrasting characters, then the inheritance of one trait is independent of the other. Okay, so the height and the shape, they are both independent traits. Okay, so when, suppose if I am writing the example T T R R, this is one trait, this is another trait, these both traits are independent of each other. Okay, height is independent of shape, and because of that, in F2 generation, when you cross the dihybrid, you get 16 individuals, 4 different types of offspring, and out of them, one of them which you get is dwarf wrinkled. Okay, so it is similar to law of segregation, but law of independent assortment basically is explaining that when two or more traits are present, each trait is independently separating, okay, or arranging. So in independent assortment, you have to show the entire dihybrid cross. Again, phenotypic ratio, as I told you, is 9 3 3 1. This is also called as the dihybrid ratio. Genotypic ratio, I told you, it won't be asked, but if it is asked, then this is the ratio. Clear? Okay. Which of them is universally applicable? Only this principle of segregation. This is the only law which is universally applicable. First law and third law are not universally applicable. Okay, so please remember that if the question is asked which of the following laws is universally applicable, then the universally applicable law is only the second law, which is law of segregation. First and third are not universally applicable. Okay, clear? So we have finished with the Mendel part. They have not explained this in detail. Okay, so that is the part. Now the next part is the part which is called as the gene interaction, as you see on the left hand side. Okay, so gene interaction is the part which is also called as the part neo-Mendelian inheritance, which is given in your book. Okay, so if you remember, they had called that part as neo-Mendelian inheritance. Okay, so these are all the genetic laws or all the genetic rules formed after Mendel, correct? And basically in neo-Mendelian inheritance you see two types of interactions. Okay, the first interaction is called as intragenic interaction, and the second type of interaction is called as intergenic interaction. Okay, so what is the difference between intra and intergenic? If you remember, intragenic inheritance is the interaction or inheritance between the alleles of the same gene. Okay, so I will write down interaction between alleles of same gene is called as intragenic inheritance, whereas intergenic inheritance is basically interaction between different genes. Okay, example over here is, suppose capital A and capital B are two different genes, interaction between them is called intergenic, whereas interaction between say capital A and small a, which are alleles of the same gene A, so that is called intragenic. So in very simple words, I have explained to you what is intragenic interaction and intergenic. Intragenic is between alleles of the same gene, intergenic is between alleles of different genes. So if you see over here, the part which I am highlighting on the left side, intragenic interaction is the interaction in which two alleles of a gene which are present on the same locus on two homologous chromosomes. So I think you know that both the alleles are present on homologous chromosomes, same locus. Okay, so suppose if these are the two chromosomes, okay, then if capital A is present over here, then small a is present over here, so that is homologous chromosomes. So you know that, correct? So that is what they have given. And if we see over here, so I will underline this same gene locus of the two homologous chromosomes. Okay, and uh, that is intragenic. Okay, and intergenic, I think they have given afterwards, yeah, over here. Intergenic is when two non-allelic genes interact. Okay, now there are examples of intragenic and intergenic, and in your NEET or in your CBSE, under intragenic inheritance, sorry, I shouldn't have rubbed that off. So under intragenic inheritance, they have given the examples of, over here there is something called codominance, then there is something called as incomplete dominance, and there is something called as multiple alleles, correct? And there is one more part given over here in MTG, and that is about lethal genes. So this part is not given in your textbook. Okay, so lethal genes. Now we are not going to solve this. I think you know what is the meaning of, first we'll do incomplete dominance. Incomplete dominance, if you remember, Mirabilis jalapal, 4 o'clock plant, also snapdragon. And if you remember, what was there in incomplete dominance? The cross between red and white flowers. So if you remember, red flowers where, I will just write it over here, red flowers were, oh I'm sorry, so the red flowers were capital R, white flower were smaller, and you got capital R small r, which were all pink. And then when you self the F1 generation, you got red, you got pink, and you got white, which is 1:2:1 phenotypic and genotypic. This is called incomplete. So both the alleles, neither of them is dominant, neither is recessive, both of them mixed to give a third type of genotype. This is incomplete. Codominance, if you remember, Then they gave the example of coat color, and if you remember, brown colored cattle, okay, crossed with white cattle. So if you want, then you can write the example over here. So red or brown colored are crossed with white colored, you can write W or you can write R, small r. So this red and white cross, they give something called as Rowan coat color. Rowan coat color is in which there are brown red patches and white patches. Okay, you can write B also over here, the letters don't matter. So red and white, so both patches are present, they do not mix, so that is called codominance. Again the ratio is 1 is to 2 is to 1. F2 generation will show one red, two Rowan and one white. So ratios are same in incomplete and codominance. If you see over here, see incomplete 1 is to 2 is to 1. Again codominance 1 2 is to 1. Next we go to multiple alleles. Multiple alleles, again the example given over here is blood group system. So what you need to remember over here is that there are three alleles. So there is one which is called as IA, then there is IB, and the third allele is called as IO, or it is written as small I. Now what is important is both these IA and IB are codominant. Okay, so when they come together, they will both show an equally strong effect. They will both show their effect. So if I write down the blood group AB, then AB blood group has both these codominant alleles I and IB. They will both show their effect. They will not mix, but they will show their effect individually to the full power. But individually, if you take any one of these alleles and mix it with O, so if I have suppose IAIO, then please remember that this allele is dominant to this allele. Similarly, this is dominant to this. So when IB comes in contact with IO, or when IA comes in contact with IO, then what happens is this A or B are dominant to this. So that is why this cannot show its effect. So यहाँ पे effect shown will be blood group A, effect shown will be blood group B. Here effect shown will be blood group AB. So when will you grab blood group O? When you have both the alleles which are IO. That will give you blood group O. Okay, so remember IA and IB are both codominant, whereas individually IA and IB are both completely dominant over IO. Okay, so you know that. So again they have given ABO blood group system, here the alleles are given. Okay, and see, they have given over here IA and IB are alleles are dominant over IO. Okay, so that is given. Okay, so that much is there. Now the last example in intragenic interaction is lethal gene. So I want to stress on this part as it is not given in the book. Now what is an example of lethal gene? So basically, see, in simple words, lethal genes are the genes which, when present in homozygous condition, okay, so when they are present in homozygous condition, they cause death of organism. Okay, suppose if I say there are two alleles, capital A and small a of the gene A. Okay, gene A has two alleles, and if I say that this capital A is a lethal gene. Okay, now if suppose I show a cross between an organism having capital A small a and another organism having capital A small a. See, remember this is the lethal gene. Okay, so what is going to happen is when I show that cross capital A small a into capital A small a, you know what is going to happen is the gametes will separate and you will have individual this plus this. So capital A, this plus this, capital A small a, this plus this, capital A small a, and this plus this, small a. Now what was the rule that we wrote for lethal genes? Lethal genes are the genes which kill the organism when they are in homozygous condition, when they are in double condition. Now see over here, capital A, okay, that capital A is the lethal gene. and it is present in double quantity, so this individual is going to die because it is having two copies of the lethal gene. This individual will not die because it is having only one copy. This is also having one copy, this is having no copy, so this will survive. So the ratio now is 2 is to 1. Earlier it was 1 is to 2 is to 1. Don't confuse this with pleiotropy. Pleiotropy is an example of intergenic interaction in which the interaction is between two different genes. Over here the interaction is between alleles of the same gene. So please don't say कि pleiotropy में the same thing happens. Yeah, same thing happens, but this is an example of intragenic interaction wherein alleles are interacting with each other, whereas pleiotropy is an example of intergenic interaction. Okay, so this person will die because the lethal gene. So lethal gene is what, if you see over here, then lethal genes are the genes which cause death of the organism in homozygous recessive or dominant condition. Suppose if I say in this cross small a is the lethal gene, then what will happen? This will not die, this will die. If this dies, then again the ratio will be 1 is to 2. So either in dominant or in recessive condition, the organism dies. Correct? The rule is that if the lethal gene is present in double dosage, it will cause the death. It may be dominant or recessive. Clear? Okay, so capital A, if capital A is the lethal gene, that animal will die. If small a is the lethal gene, small a will die. In any case, the ratio is going to be 1 is to 2, and which is given over here. Okay, so that is there. Okay, is this clear? Oh, I'm not able to mark this. Okay, so we'll do one thing, we'll end the lecture over here. So we have basically finished with intragenic inheritance. The next part which we are going to study is going to be intergenic inheritance. Okay, and that is going to be the next part. Now there are many different types of genes given, complementary, supplementary, epistasis. I will explain all that. But if I continue the same thing in today's lecture, then it's going to be too much for you. Okay, so I hope whatever part I have explained today is done. Most of it was revision. So the next lecture is going to continue from intergenic interaction, and we are going to complete the entire chapter. Okay, so if you have any doubts, please make sure that you contact me, and thank you for listening. Okay.